Thanks, Suzanne, for the intro. And hello, everybody, people here on site and also people accessing remote to this event. I know it has been a long day, but I think it has been a very good day with a lot of information, with a lot of great ideas being discussed here. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. Since I'm the last speaker, I thought, okay, I believe it has been, quite a lot of speakers here. So I wanted to find something which can capture you guys to stay here, 20 more minutes, okay? So please hang on with me. And what I thought was, sometimes at the end of the weekend, we get home, and we have this kind of reflection about how the week was, and especially if it's a great week when you have solved a lot of problems, you always try to go through all of that and understand, what happened, what are you doing, even as a professional and as personal, as a human being with your teams. So I thought, okay, why don't I also start with that? But in this case, regarding sustainability, all right? Because I think sometimes we need to think about what we are doing in a very, I would even say, philosophical or very deep manner, so that then we can also understand, how can we improve and how we can move forward. But without further ado, let's get into the content so that you guys can understand what I'm trying to tell you. So I thought I need to somehow express how do I see sustainability in our planet, and how do I see sustainability for the humankind at this moment? There is this picture there, which sometimes I feel it's how we are actually treating our planet. And at the same time, I thought, but I also need to describe it, yeah? And then I thought about a very, I would say, author that I'm very, very adept of, and I really like. His name is Marshall McLuhan. He was a professor in Canada, and he actually was a visionary because he was able to foresee the internet way before the internet appeared. And he actually even created a concept, I'm not sure if a lot of you guys know, but it's the global village concept, and where he was basically saying that in the future, people are going to be connected, and at the end, we are all be living in the same village. And we actually feel that now, right? Because if there is war, even if it's in Iraq, and we have never been in Iraq, and it's really, really far away, we still feel it at home. So all those things now, the problems of the world, and because of technology and especially internet, are now coming to us in a way that they have never done before. And when it comes to sustainability, I think he describes, and that's the top quote that he actually has in one of his books, I think he describes quite well how we are facing sustainability, yeah? Because, and quoting him, he was saying, there are no passengers on spaceship Earth, we are all crew. And I think sometimes with sustainability, that's what we are doing. We are all passengers because we're just waiting to see what the governments are doing, what the big players are doing, what our neighbor is doing. Is my neighbor recycling? Oh, then I also need to recycle, right? So that's a little bit the situation that we're having now in terms of sustainability, that we are all waiting to see what the others are doing or the government is telling us to do, which is even worse. And I don't think, that is correct. And I think, a little bit of the motto of today's session, as well as my presentation, is I think we really need to start being all crew. And like Andres was saying, at the end, Vestas is doing this, but they would be very happy if everybody would be doing that. So I think here, the major thing that I want to express with the first quotation from McLuhan is saying, we all need to be crews on this topic. There is no more time for passengers, all right? Then the second one is I think we are still not able to fully understand everything and all the impact we are having on the world. And then even if I don't think he actually has let's say, a basis, a scientific basis to say that the fish didn't discover water. I think it's more the analogy he's doing, but I find it quite funny. But what is more important is the last part of the quote, that is, when a conduct is normalized by a dominant cultural environment, it becomes invisible. So if we think about us, we basically, we have been polluting, we have been, driving, flying, myself, guilty, as all of us. So we don't see the real impact, yeah? But I think now, with all the technology, we can change that. But before that, let's see how is actually at the moment sustainability around the world or, in general. And then I did something very complex. I just Googled it. And this is what I got in terms of articles, and what I found is that there is a lot of still hypocrisy about it. And there is a lot of, I think, companies and even institutions are still following the money when it comes to sustainability. I was even a little bit surprised and shocked at the same time when I realized that there are studies, neuromarketing studies, that target how to brand a product which is not sustainable, but they can target people that are now considering sustainability as something important. But this is being, cynical about it. And I think we need to stop with this. Yeah? Other thing that we're also doing, and I think it's also a problem that is going to take some time, sustainability is not only about the environment. It's definitely very important. It's also what is coming up all the time in the headlines of the news nowadays, but it's also economic part of it. There is also a social part of it. And all of those things need to be considered. So there is kind of this paradigm of carbon tunnel vision, where we just look at carbon emissions. But even with carbon emissions, and on the left side of the slide, you can see that even with carbon emissions, which is something that should be simple, even those offsets are not being met in terms of the targets that were expected last year, and this year we are already falling behind. Okay? And when I say carbon emissions and carbon offset cannot be sufficient, it's also because of this. And this is quite interesting, because we think, and I think there's a lot of companies that are doing this. Well, we do our carbon offset, and what do? We just plant trees. Yeah, everybody's planting trees, but there is actually a study, and quoting here Bloomberg, there is actually a study where if we'd all be offsetting the carbon emissions through planting trees, we will not have any space left in the planet. There is even no space, because you can read there that if Shell, and they are actually planning to do this, Shell actually wants to offset all of their carbon emissions using planting trees. They would take 10% of the space we still have available in our planet to plant those trees. So there is no space, and this is not the only solution we have, right? Now, and I'm sorry, I've been very negative about this. And you say, what about now, Antonio? Are we doomed? Yeah, there is no... I mean, I hope and I believe that, after hearing my colleagues' presentations, from Vestas, also from SAP, there is still hope, yeah? There is still hope. And there is still some, or already some passengers that are moving on, in terms of being a crew, right? And, I think Vestas is quite good on that, because as you hear from Anders and also what they are doing, and let's think about it, they are already in the sustainability business, yeah, producing carbon-free energy. So they pretty much should not be the first ones, but they are, and they are not only just offsetting, but also thinking about employee safetyness. They are thinking about other things pretty much in a 360 degrees perspective of sustainability. And that's what everybody needs to be doing, all right? Because, and again, planting trees is not going to save us, yeah? Then, and I know I am an employee of this company, but you need to trust me, because I really take this very personally. And in my company, sustainability is also very, very important. And we are not only just looking and offsetting the carbon. That's easy again. We have understood that, and we are trying to tackle all the different fronts of sustainability when it comes to ethics with our suppliers. We want to understand from where, even if we are talking just about merchandising, we need to understand where are those T-shirts being made? Are they made in a sweatshop in Asia, or are actually based on a sustainable production? So all those things matter. And Westernacher is one of those examples where we're really trying to focus and tackle the different angles of sustainability. Now, is this enough? Yeah, of course not. And I'm sorry, yeah, because even if I'm saying what Vestas and Westernacher is doing is not enough, I think we can all agree on that, because like I was saying, and going back to McLuhan, we still are not able to understand all the impacts we're having on the planet. There is a lot of things that we just do because, we are fish in water, but we don't understand the environment where we are, so we keep doing those. So I think we need to do quite a lot of more things, and innovative and creative things, in order to, let's say, decrease the damage that is coming towards us, all right? So, yeah, so basically this tells us the world is changing, but we are also changing. So the challenges that we are having now is more pollution, greenwashing, scarcity, climate change. All of this is not new. We have been talking about this pretty much the entire single day. So I don't think they are new. They already exist. I think pollution already exists for many, many decades or even centuries. Poverty the same. Climate change is something already been identified as a potential problem many decades back. So they are not new for me, but nevertheless, I'm putting there since we are discussing that now. And then we have this paradigm, where everybody wants to be neutral because everybody wants to plant trees, but there is no space, and that's not enough, right? So we then need to go to a next level of this paradigm, that is, we need to start reducing our impact on the planet and on the people and the way that we actually are running our economies. So that means we need to go to, from neutral to think 360 and see how sustainable we can be from a pure end-to-end of our enterprise, and I would even say of our lives. Now, if there is something that change over time, there is also good stuff that come over time, and that would be the internet, that would be the cell phones, the data, the software, the science also has evolved quite a lot. And I think the solution for this could be from taking these new tools we are having and try to solve the problems we are facing at the moment. And the more and more we start digging this at sustainability practice at Westernacher, the more and more creative we can be and the more innovations we're having. So there is still hope there. And because the solution is an end-to-end sustainable enterprise, and I would even say an end-to-end personal sustainable living. So if we go to what is our end-to-end sustainability vision, and again, this is a practice that we have at Westernacher, which is not which go across all the domains, so it goes across warehousing, procurement, and so on. So we're looking from, in order to create the end-to-end sustainability vision that is going to allow us, pushing the envelope of creativity, come up with different solutions, and above all, we will start with something that we now have that we didn't used to have in the past, which is data. Nowadays, with our phones, even in our personal lives, we have data for everything. People can capture data as never before. So we need to use that data, and that's why we start with the analytics, in order to understand the real impact. Because only when we understand the real impact, that's only when we can actually apply the measures and try to solve the problems we're having, right? And then my colleague Mark already showcased the corporate carbon footprint monitor we're having at Westernacher, and that's just the beginning. But like he was saying, he was able to simulate the real impact of our decisions in terms of sustainability. And this gives us, way, way better, vision, or let's say direction, or where to go, or what we should stop doing, because it's actually really having a big impact, sometimes even more than we thought, all right? Then after that, and referring to the SAP's presentation today, SAP is already coming up with some modules or some applications that are also just focused on sustainability. And they are also not just going, carbon footprint, they are also going, employee safetiness. They are also going with the production and design of products, which in a sustainable way or in a responsible way, Products that, we can use in the circular economy and not just, dispose every time we use that. Now, what I think that at Westernacher we are then doing on top and working with all the partners, we are looking to the different aspects of an end-to-end enterprise, and we are trying to see how can I solve this problem? How can I actually, look at certain things that at the moment I have no clue about, impact on sustainability, and how can I solve this? So we are already coming up with different ideas, applications already, assets that we are developing so that we can then, also offer that to our customers and other partners, so forth and so on. Because at the end of the day, what is important is that we are all, being crew and not all, not some are crew and other ones are passengers. We want, our customers, our partners, everybody to be crew and actually work with us on this particular mission that we are having. So I'm just going to describe a little bit in high level some of the ideas and things we are working are already available. And if you have any other questions or if you actually would like to know more, you can always reach out to us. So let's start with the transportation optimization to offset CO2 emissions, right? We are now looking in ways that we actually can provide transportation planners a real idea of how much they are actually, how much CO2 is being emitted by the trucks that they are planning, so that they also can then later on understand that the company down the road actually has to pay for the emissions that they are not able to offset on their own, right? So that's one of the points. Other thing is, and I think this is quite interesting, and especially now with the supply chain disruption that has been discussed here, is the fact that you can source your products offshore or onshore. So many times you think, okay, we go to Asia, we buy products cheaper, we send them here, and then everybody's happy because price so far is everything that matters for a lot of corporations. Well, but moving forward and seeing that we will have to pay more and more for, emissions or for sustainability-related measures and regulations and laws, one might start thinking twice if it actually makes sense for me to go to Asia, get all my cheap products, or if I put on top the sustainability impact, not only the financial one, but also, I would say, an ethical one that everybody should have, maybe we should actually source them more regionally or find other alternatives, right? And this is only possible if we use the technology and the information and we are able to actually provide that information to somebody that can make a decision with all the different factors available. Because otherwise, we are just fish in the water, not understanding that we are in the water that we are, which is the lack of sustainability. Other real interesting, and I think this is not only, it's not only for manufacturing companies, but also for our own houses. Sometimes we, like companies that are manufacturing a product, they have a lot of machinery. If those machines are somehow broken, if they are not working the most optimal way, most of the times they're actually wasting a lot of energy. Yeah? It's like at home when you go to the fridge, if you leave it open, it's going to consume way more than if it's closed. So sometimes, in huge corporations are manufacturing a lot of products at scale, this is happening, but they have no idea. So we came up with the idea of actually using sensors, and with IoT technology, we are applying that technology to machines, and we are able to understand if a certain machine is not operating in the optimal state, the technician can be called immediately, can come into the factory and fix it, so that then we are not spending more energy than we should. And this is fantastic because this is happening now, and I doubt that there are that many companies that are able to say, that machine is not operating at the right level, call the technician. How can you figure that out? Unless it's maybe too hot and you can feel that something wrong, but I doubt, and you are not doing it for all of them. And, so these are some of ideas that we're having. The same with product sustainability comparison, which I find interesting because I was hearing today that in the future we're going to have 3 buttons, and one button is I will pay more because I want the shipment to be sustainable. There are already ideas of basically every time you're going to buy a product, you should be able to compare in terms of sustainable impact of that product versus another product. Because also the consumers need to make the right decisions. And this only comes with transparency. And that transparency comes from the data. And, and we are just kind of starting this journey, but the data is there. We already have, SAP supporting in many different directions. The regulations are there. So I think it's just about us to be creative and innovative doing that. And that's pretty much what we actually really like to do at Westernacher, more than anything else, is to actually have ideas and think about problems and come up with solutions. So I think in this particular case, coming already from a background of transportation and logistics, which are quite experts at Westernacher, I think we are the perfect guys, to work in solutions that can also help, companies to be more sustainable. So that's a bit the mission of our practice. And like I said, we go pretty much end-to-end in terms of processes and modules. So thank you so much. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Antonio, thank you very much for sharing all your thoughts on that so important topic with us. I have one last and final question. So when do you expect all these outside forces, like regulations, like customer demands, like the always ongoing competition, to finally push companies to act in a more sustainable way? When will that happen?
I think already happened in a way. I think it's like if this trend
in
already
some
left.
cases.
Yes, but I think if you really need to invest and somehow trust that sustainability is the right thing, not only for the planet but also for us as a society or mankind, and there were some, let's say, pioneers like Vestas has invested on windmills very, very early, and everybody thought, oh, those guys are crazy. Then, for example, Patagonia, which is a very well-known clothing company, they also made, a crazy move that they said, okay, if your clothes actually, get, somehow you have a scrap or something, you just bring it back and we'll fix it for you. And this everybody thought, okay, these guys will not sell more jackets or they're not going to have any more business because everybody's going back and actually, try to fix whatever the problems they're having with their garments, and that's it. They will not buy new ones. But the opposite actually happened because more and more people really found that the company was being very transparent and they really cared. So the consumption of their products actually increased quite a lot. And what is also even more interesting, and since I'm talking about Patagonia, because this just came out a couple of days back, is that the founder of Patagonia, which is also a rock climber like I am, gave billions and billions of company to one single shareholder. Yeah? And that shareholder was the planet Earth. So he has now basically a foundation where all the money, all these billions, instead of satisfying businessmen, they are actually satisfying the planet Earth. And all of this is already being talked everywhere. There's a lot of buzz about this. So Patagonia is just benefiting, actually getting a lot of benefits from all these attitudes and all these decisions and all these changes in their strategies. The same as Vestas and the same as Westernacher, because you are also already able to understand the real impact on things. There is way more things to be done. But we need to stop being passengers and look to what the other guys are doing and say, I'll take control, I want to be a crew.
We couldn't close that summit with a better example.
Antonio,
thank you very much.